responsibility as representatives of the province into Parliament is to bring issues or challenges that are affecting the work of the police in the province.
In the courts now, the lawyers for the Zambian government have argued in the Pretoria High Court that it was never former President Edgar Lungu's wish to be buried in South Africa. The court is hearing arguments from the government and Lungu's family over where the head of state should be buried. Lungu died in South Africa in June while receiving medical treatment. The Pretoria High Court halted his burial ahead of today's court battle. Khomotso Modise has more.
Arguing on behalf of the Zambian government, Advocate Ben Stoop has referenced the minutes of meetings between the family of Edgar Lungu and the Zambian government, saying it was clear that the former president did not want to be buried in South Africa and it was his wish for his remains to be repatriated back home. In June, Lungu's family tried to have him buried in South Africa, saying they did not want Zambia's current president, Lungu's political nemesis, Hakainde Hichilema, present at his funeral. But Advocate Stoop says the family and the state agreed on a program for the repatriation and funeral, which stipulates that Hichilema would be present when dignitaries are welcomed and during the program. Stoop further argues that in Zambian law, there's a clear judicial precedent stating that with a person of significant national interest, the wishes of that person and the family must yield to the broader public interest. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News.
Staying in the courts, the case against a Johannesburg mother accused of forcing her 4-year-old son to smoke drugs has been postponed again. The 4 accused, which include the mother and 3 other men, will now return to the Johannesburg Magistrates Court on Thursday for address verification. They've indicated an intention to apply for bail. The group has been in custody since their arrest last month on charges of child abuse and attempted murder. Mongezi Gogo reports.
Today's proceedings were brief, lasting only a few minutes, but still drew anger from disgruntled community members outside court. Many say they're frustrated by the further delay in seeing justice for the child victim.
We are really saddened by the fact that this matter has been postponed to Thursday. We really want justice and we want justice immediately. I personally feel that the justice system is failing us dismally.
The state has already said it will strongly oppose any bail application, citing the seriousness of the allegations and the vulnerability of the child. The boy is still in the care of social workers who continue to monitor his recovery. Mongezi Gogo, Eyewitness News at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court.
And Italy's competition authority has imposed a €1 million fine on China's fast fashion online retailer Shein. The authority says Shein misled customers on the environmental impact of its products. In particular, claims about the recyclability of products were found to either be false or at least confusing. It also took issue with the retailer's claims it would reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 25% by 2030 and reach zero emissions by 2050. Shein's treatment of workers and environmental record came under increased scrutiny last year after reports that it was planning to list its shares in London. Gold is trading at $3,359.35 an ounce. The rand is at 17.99 to the dollar, 23.91 to the pound, 20.82 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $69.67 a barrel.
In Midrand, heading towards the Sandton area, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic N1 southbound. This is between Allendale and the Butlu interchange. Also in Amalgam, heading into the Joburg CBD. There's slow-moving traffic on Main Reef Road between Production and Anderson.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 22 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola has admitted that conflicting messages from South Africa may have frustrated government's ability to negotiate with the US on tariffs in good faith.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Your voice.
Your station. 702.
We are listening to you. You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide.
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7.
And 106 FM.
8 minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. It's a Monday and I'm so excited for today's show because I will be reunited with my colleague in our awesome feature. But hey, we are also going to be doing the usual. So here's what's coming up on the show. We have the book club on 7:02 afternoons together with myself and Mandy Wiener. And I'm so looking forward to this book. We'll be talking The Fragile Mental Health of Strong Women, a book that was authored by Michelle Gekana. And we're going to have a chat with her about that. And do join us on this one. And apologies in advance for the delay in the book selection, but I'll give you the backstory shortly. Movies and what to stream. Adelaide Moyang joins us, videographer and founder of Movies and Stuff. Our travel feature. We chat to Gabby Brondani about why so many South Africans flock to rural France. Yes, I might have had an influence there with this conversation because I could not believe the number of South Africans that are there. In the second half of the show, Parenting and Parents feature, we talk about navigating cancer during pregnancy, something that many probably don't even think about, but there are many women who even choose to forgo certain treatment to save their child. Dr. Nokwanda Zuma joins us, clinical and radiation oncologist, for that conversation. And then Dr. Chris Smith is still away on summer holiday, so he will not be joining us for The Naked Scientist, but we will chat about the care barometer. And what that's all about is what women really care about. So I want to hear from you early. What is it that you really care about? Share with us and maybe take a guess, gents and other ladies as well, that what is it that women really, really care about. It is Women's Month after all, so we'll be having many conversations centered around women. Gents, we want you to be a part of our conversations because we live in a world with you, but you also have interesting insights that you're able to share with us. So get in touch, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 afternoons
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Time for the book club on 702 afternoons. It's Mandy Wiener and I. Mandy, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So are we going to tell the listeners that I'm doing the book this month?
Do you think they will believe you?
Of course they will. Let's see if they believe me. So Mandy straight up said, I'm not doing the book, you're doing the book. And I was like, you know what? I will do the book. And I'm so grateful, Mandy, because since we started the book club, I've been getting sent a ton of books.
Yes.
So I just went to the pile and I looked at the different titles, of which there are many. And I just picked the one that the title stood out. So without knowing a thing.
Never judge a book by its cover, huh?
Right? I never judge a book by its movie. Not that this one has a movie, but yes, also.
I hope you didn't chat GPT or watch the movie. instead of
Firstly,
reading the
there
book.
is no movie. Actually, I must ask for the rights for this movie. Thank you for the
Pleasure.
idea. Thank you.
So just for some context, what happened was I'm on deadline for my own book at the moment. So I didn't have time to read the book this month.
Yes.
Because I'm
'Cause
trying
you
to
were
finish.
writing.
I'm writing and editing and trying to finish my own book.
you know,
which
now we
comes out next
expect it
month.
to be phenomenal, now that you've told us.
I should hope so. So I said to Relebogile, it's your turn. You actually have to read a book if we're going to do a
Yes.
book club together.
Okay, so I looked at the titles. And this one, The Fragile Mental Health of Strong Women, stood out. And initially, when you look at the book, you would think that it's nonfiction. It is fiction, but I have some suspicions around this. Now, when I started reading, because I have shared this with you too, I like your autobiographies, I like your real nonfiction stuff. I'm not big into fiction. I'm so happy this book found me because it's the type of fiction that still covers subject matters that are interesting. And not just interesting in the sense that, well, Relebogile, we know you're into mental health or anything to do with being a strong woman, but how it's been written. And I think it touches on the core of many a human experience. But before I get too deep, Mandy, into that, I want to welcome into the conversation the author, Michelle, because I have so many things to pick her brain about. Michelle Gekana, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Michelle, it's Mandy here. I would just like to say thank you for actually getting Relebogile to read a book.
She always sounds so well read. I think you're making up stories about her.
She is. Thank you. This is, you know what? You must come be my publicist. Mandy's giving me a bad name.
Yes.
Michelle, I have to just say, the thing that gripped me right at the beginning, it's like, and I want to do my best to not give too much away about your book, which obviously follows.
Firstly,
yes.
I'm going to play the role that you normally play.
Oh, you're going to play.
You have to actually tell the listeners what the book is about.
Oh, man. Okay. So this is the book that follows the story of three women at different places in their lives. And how these three women have been held up to society's standards of being a strong woman. Now, in the context of being a black woman, it has additional layers. So even that term, I think I said it last year, Women's Month, that I'm done with being Mbogoto. I'm done with that narrative.
Absolutely.
Because
exhausting.
being Mbogoto already puts us in a position where vulnerability is not an option. And we can go into the other dynamics of firstborn daughter and all of those things. But the fact that it follows the journey of these three women who are keeping, it's like the duck floating, right? On the outside, they look calm and they're gliding, but underneath, they are paddling for their lives. And these women are now, at the end of the book, brought together through a psychiatrist through their very different challenges that they are facing. And the reason I say many can relate to it is one of them, motherhood, big issue, which I know you can relate to, Mandy. Mm-hmm. Another one of them, dealing with joblessness. You graduated, you did all of the right things, but here you are struggling to find a job. So how the book starts, which is what was like, okay, I'm sold. I need to give this fiction thing a chance. It grips you from the start where you start reading and it is so intense in the wording where you're like, is this chapter what I think it's about? Like at the beginning. And what it is the inside thoughts of the one young lady, the one character where she's planning out her suicide. And not only is she planning out her suicide, she's also an A-type personality like myself, who was like, I guess if I was also planning my suicide, I would think about details. She's talking about it has to be done on a Saturday.
And close to payday.
And close to payday. And it has to be. And I thought to myself, Michelle did not, and she did. She captured it so beautifully in the fact that you kind of want to giggle, but it's so raw and real that you can relate to the concept of maybe the pain will end if I'm gone, but how do I fix it for everybody else? So even in that, Michelle, where it's a self-care act in her mind, but it also is a considerate act in how she's doing it, she's still being an Mbogoto in some kind of way.
Absolutely. Because even when women are falling apart, they need to fall apart. Society teaches us to fall apart in a way that doesn't inconvenience anyone else. Do you know what I mean? It's like only, I think, I've experienced in male suicide will a man kill himself in the house in front of the kids. But women will be discreet about it, drink medication, not leave a note so they don't pass on the trauma of having ended their lives. And I think I needed to be cognizant, well, in the strength of a woman that is demanded by society. How would a woman tackle suicide? How would she be strong even at her weakest, at her most fragile, for everyone else?
I'm interested in the fact that you, this narrative that Relebogile was speaking about Mbokodo, about, this narrative that has been passed down generationally. You strike a woman, you strike a rock. And the fact that mental health is such taboo in black communities. You do choose to tell the story of three black women specifically. What was it about that you wanted to share?
I think in terms of health, like worldwide, not just in Africa, but especially in Africa, the mind is the final taboo. It's the space that we don't allow to be sick. In most cases, when you're black and you're fairly well off and your physical needs are met, right? You have food in your stomach, you have a roof over your head. You're not allowed to say, no, I'm not coping, I'm falling apart. Society always tells you, no, you should be grateful, you should count your blessings. Because I think we live in a continent where like I'm using an analogy where many have no feet. So you're not allowed to complain about not having shoes on. So in terms of women are always tasked with the idea of always being rocks. But in writing this book, I'm trying to say that women are not rocks. We are people. We bleed red blood like everyone else, and we are fragile. In a society that doesn't allow for female fragility, we always have to be strong. We always have to be the backbone, and sometimes to our own detriment.
And I have to just say, and I don't believe in coincidence. I believe everything happens for a reason. One of the first TikToks I stumbled upon this morning, and I will find her name because it slips my mind. But one of the things she was speaking about, she was sharing about the apartheid struggle and saying of all the women she spoke to that were part of the struggle, she's like, do you know what was the most traumatic experience for them? And she goes through the list. It wasn't being held captive. It wasn't being exiled and away from your children. It wasn't any of those things. It was the fact that some of them would go to fight for the movement, fight for freedom. And the first thing that happens to them the moment they're away from home is that they would be sexually assaulted by their comrades. And she goes on, she goes on to say that so many women had to put aside the woman's fragility for the sake of the Black empowerment movement. Because we're not even yet at a place where we can complain about certain things because, well, they gave you freedom. And she was listing a whole bunch of freedom fighters who have been accused and themselves have been confessed themselves to how they mistreated their wives and the women in their lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I know the TikTok they're speaking about. And often Black women have to set themselves alight to keep society warm. You know, it's like no one considers how it feels. And people would be like, no, but you got freedom. And no, but the comrades that raped you and assaulted you were also away from their wives. They needed warmth. Do you know what I mean? Even if it wasn't consensual, even if it was violent. So the strength that is demanded of Black women is crippling to Black women. And I thought, I can do it in fiction form in that stories, allow us to inhabit other people's shoes, to walk in their shoes and to have sympathy and to gain compassion for people. Because I think if it would have been like a textbook, a psychology textbook, I think people would, like a select number of people who are interested in psychiatry would read it, but not the greater population who are just interested in the human experience.
And Michelle, you really used this device of writing the novel, fictionalizing, creating these characters to speak to this very important issue, which does allow women and gives women permission to unravel. What inspired you? This is your debut novel. Why did you decide on these three women and to write fiction?
To write fiction, I think I was writing to myself. One of my favorite writers is Toni Morrison, and she says we have to create in the world things we wish existed. I've suffered from depression ever since I was 12. I was 12 when I had my first suicide attempt, and my only, because it was very bungled. I thought, no more. I'm going to try to live. So, and I didn't even have the language for it. I didn't know why I was feeling the way I was feeling. There was no outside trauma. I wasn't harmed. I was a doted upon daughter of a loving mother. But still, the biochemistry in my brain was out of whack. I think the way I describe depression to someone who doesn't have it is like it's a blindness to joy. Sometimes all the things that are supposed to make you joyful are present in other people, are present, but you're just blind to them. And I think in the book, Ayanga's story is that, it's like there can be depression as a result of trauma, as a result of want, of being deprived, but lots of people who are doing well outwardly. I can make an example about Ricky Rick, Boss Zonke, or whatever it is. I mean, he went to Hilton, who was very well off, who was extremely good looking, who was artistic, and the double HPs in the world. And we're just talking about the men here, but there are countless of other women who have succumbed to death at their own hands, who were not even able to articulate what was going on inside their own heads. I think the mind is the final frontier as far as health is concerned.
Relebogile, now that you've read a book, I'm joking. You read
I love
lots of
how you
books.
you finally read your first book. My dad's like, what was I paying school fees for?
The book tracks the story of 3 black women.
Yes.
Which one of these resonates most with you? And what do you take from this book that you would like the audience to take from it?
So it would be easy for me to say the mother, right? But something about the way Michelle wrote the first character we introduced to, the one who's a graduate waiting for that job that is just not coming. And I will tell you why, because I have struggled for many years with trying to find my value outside of what I have to perform. And showing up at work is performing. And that's what's drilled into us, that at some point you have to do well at school so that you can do what, go to varsity, and you have to do well at varsity so you can do what, so you can get a job. So I've had moments where I have not been able to show up professionally, and that left me feeling like, who am I as a person? Am I even worth still being here? I've spent many moments in hospital beds where my laptop was taken away and I felt worthless. Like, then I might as well be gone if I'm not performing. It's learning that you are lovable and valuable and worthy outside of your work and your contribution. And I think, Michelle, you can relate to the part of, we have to find ourselves performing for some kind of something, be it waking up at 6 a.m. and washing the dishes perfectly, but it becomes performative. Now I'm learning the art of self-love, which is not performative. Like, just being, just existing makes me lovable.
Exactly. I think because we all exist in this capitalist society, and it's like we attribute commercial value to human value. So if you're not commercially valuable as a person, if you're not contributing to their GDP, then who are you? Because I mean, it's like in lots of instances when we meet people for the first time, like one of the first questions that come up is like, what do you do for a living? What if you don't do? You know, like it's hard to exist in a society that expects you to always do for a living. And there are lots of, especially in Cyril's economy, there are lots of graduates who did the right thing, who went to school, who persevered, who graduated, who are still standing by the robots with signs saying, graduating BSc, whatever, can't find a job. I mean, it's like earlier this year, I saw on TikTok when medical doctors, were struggling to find employment in a society that teaches us that if you want a guaranteed employment, then you should do any STEM program, the sciences, the technologies, and the maths. You know, so it is very hard, like, and it could be very eroding to a person's sense of being when they have done all the right things and still the job is not forthcoming at the end of it.
I am curious, Michelle, you've got your characters Hope, Ayanga, and Zetu. How do you select characters' names? Because in the case of Hope, like, her situation is hopeless. Was that like extremely intentional?
No, it wasn't very intentional. I think one of the hardest things I find about writing, especially fiction, is naming the characters. Because if I name you a name that I can't relate to, there are so many transcripts and manuscripts in the bottom of my drawer where I didn't like the name, therefore the story just didn't come. So if I can name a person, then I can see them in my mind's eye. And as soon as I came across, like, I think I worked on 3 names before Hope. And then once I saw Hope, I was like, oh my gosh. And I needed for Hope's a redemption to come from Hope. Do you know what I mean? To rescue herself, because that's often what women have to do, because there's no prince, there's no knight in shining armor that's riding a white horse to rescue you. Often we have to be both the mess and the dustpan to ourselves.
So what would you share is the key takeaway from this book if you are not a black woman, if you are not a woman? Because I think it touches on universal experiences and stories. It might not be the fragile mental health of a strong woman. It could be the fragile mental health of a person living in 2025 with everything we're dealing with?
I feel like it's a human experience, man. It's like all of us need to, before we exist in the world, we need to exist in our own heads, in our own minds. And I feel like once a person masters the art of self-soothing, then all their fights, like when you're on your own side, when you're in your own corner, then every fight you come across is easier. Like, and I think the general takeout for every human being is be in your own corner. Have the ability to self-soothe, to encourage yourself in the absence of anything and anyone else. Be your own strongest advocate.
I have to agree. I do think that some, not all of these themes, definitely. I mean, they resonate with me as a mother when you speak about that of the mental strength, the having to remain strong, and I think that this book will appeal across the spectrum.
Thank you so much.
Michelle, I'm so excited for a debut. This is phenomenal. How many unwritten or half-written books are sitting waiting for you to finish?
Oh, 4. I'm so embarrassed.
Oh, 4.
No, don't be.
Don't.
Keep writing,
You started.
keep writing.
I cannot wait to hear the others. And I have a sneaky suspicion because the way you described some of these things that you picked parts out of your own life. And I want to just say, thank you for putting pen to paper, ink to paper of what so few are able to articulate, because the way that first chapter gripped me, and I'm so excited for everyone to read this book. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to both of you.
Mandy?
Well done, Relebogile. If you're not careful, I'm going to make you do the next one.
I was about to say, are you making me do the next one? No, I'm hooked. I won't lie. Like, I think I underestimated how broad and rich fiction can be in terms of dealing with the emotional, psychological, and it's such a great way to also maybe write certain things while still semi-protecting yourself, like we did with one of our previous books around whistleblowing and all of those things. So, guys, your local fiction recommendation, 702 afternoons at 702.co.za. The book is called The Fragile Mental Health of Strong Women, a novel by Michelle Kekana. And I'm seeing some of your messages. One says, wow, brilliant book. P.S. Please ask her to write her next book, The Fragile Mental Health of Married Women. I will make sure we get the message to her. 1:30 time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola has admitted that conflicting messages from South Africa may have frustrated government's ability to negotiate with the US on tariffs in good faith. This comes as Pretoria makes another attempt to renegotiate economic and bilateral ties ahead of the implementation of sweeping tariffs by US President Donald Trump. A delegation of the South African police is currently in Lesotho to address the alleged existence of an illegal military training camp linked to the kingdom, which is operating in South Africa. National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola, alongside other SAPS officials, will be giving an update on their findings into the allegations made by the Lesotho National Police Commissioner, Advocate Boroto Matsoso. And the lawyers for the Zambian government have argued in the Pretoria High Court that it was never former President Edgar Lungu's wish to be buried in South Africa. The court is hearing arguments from the government as well as Lungu's family over where the former head of state should be buried. Lungu died in South Africa in June while receiving medical treatment. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
Well, at this stage, in the Amalgam area, there's slow-moving traffic. This is on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. There's also slow-moving traffic. This is leaving Germiston heading towards Bedford View, N3 southbound between the Kilulis Interchange and Van Buren. Otherwise, traffic lights are still out of order. This is in the Randburg area at Malibongo Drive and Mahogany. Traffic lights also not working in Midrand at Olifantsfontein Road and the N1, as well as in Bryanston at Winnie Mandela Drive and Sloan. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
As a company, though, how do you plan on responding? Are we likely to see inevitable job losses? Do you think that this help that government says it will provide will assist you in some way to avoid, especially, the impact on job losses?
Until I see it in writing and I see what they're proposing, I will only be able to tell you then. As you know, we're already under pressure, government, financially. We don't have money in the budget, so I don't know where they're going to find the money. From our side, look, there won't be immediate job losses in our business. My biggest priority is to make sure that I do not lose any of my staff and that we don't lay off any staff. I'm more worried about my supply chain.
Siegfried Lokotch, Operations Director at Jengamak, an automotive company in the Eastern Cape.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
It's the clarion call for the 26th Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. This year, plan your days wisely because we're pulling out all the stops. Jazz at Lincoln Center, featuring the legendary Wynton Marsalis, returns in triumph to the Sandton Convention Center on the 26th and 28th of September 2025. But that's not all. Over 60 world-class acts light up 4 stages throughout the weekend. Actually, why choose? Just treat yourself to the full experience. Grab all 3 days exclusively on Ticketmaster. Take me there.
Breaking news. SARS has enhanced the personal income tax return form. It has simpler questions that adapt to your income and deductions based on your answers. Whether you're employed or self-employed, the digital form has built-in guidance and the option to save and finish later. Tax matters, so does your time. File with ease on e-filing or the SARS Mobi app today. Go to sars.gov.za. SARS, at your service.
As a business owner, would you rather deal with stacks of slips at the end of each day or have recons done instantly? Introducing Yoko Counter, the new all-in-one payments and points of sale system that removes the guesswork, the paperwork, and the time drain. Taking your business from chaos to control, guesswork to clarity, giving you back time to focus on what truly matters. Visit yoko.com today to find out more about the simple yet powerful out-of-the-box solution with free built-in point of sale software.
Ah, choices. We love them. Like a Jator dealer asking you, so which one do you like? And you're like, do you like the bold, stylish, head-turning dashing from 4,999 per month? Or the adventurous 7-seater X70 Plus from 5,199 per month? Both. Because yes, choices. Book your test drive at jator.coza and make an excellent choice either way. T's and C's apply. Jator. Drive your future.
You work hard, you save what you can, but will it be enough for your retirement? For most South Africans, the answer is no. This Thursday on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, Old Mutual Corporate brings you a wonderful, powerful conversation inspired by their upcoming Thought Leaders Forum, tackling the retirement crisis and the urgent need for collaborative leadership. We'll discuss how business and policymakers can join forces to change the country's retirement future. Don't miss insightful conversation Thursday, the 7th of August, brought to you by Old Mutual Corporate on 702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock, time for movies and what to stream. And today we're chatting to Adelaide Moyeng, videographer and the founder of Movies and Stuff. And don't forget to send through all of your movies, series, documentary recommendations, old and new. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 702. Adelaide, happy Monday. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, darling.
Oh, I've missed your voice.
We are back, baby. We are back. So let's jump into it.
Oh, we've been blessed with wonderful movies this month and last month. July really was the gift that kept on giving. We're going to start off in the cinema because I do know that I just wish that Women's Day was on Friday so that, the weekend would be longer. But let's start off in the cinemas. The Fantastic Four First Steps has finally dropped, and it's actually one of the best doing Marvel films this year, surpassing Thunderbolts. and other films as well. So for those who are not familiar with the Fantastic Four, it is an adaptation from the Marvel Comics where 4 astronauts go into space and they come back to Earth with powers. So this specific Fantastic Four is different because I know a lot of people are going to get confused because there's at least 2 different versions of Fantastic Four. However, this one is a new take. It has a 1960s retro futuristic inspired set design. All of it is completely different from what we originally know. It does have the daddy's internet, or the internet's daddy, Pedro Pascal, in it, and he plays Reed Richards. He is the main, I'd say the guy with the brains, but he is basically, he feels bad for what has happened to them because he didn't really calculate how they were going to come back with powers and all of that. But in this version in particular, it is quite different. I thought it would have just been the same story redone for the 15 billionth time, but it is actually way better than I expected it. I'm surprised, honestly, as a Marvel fan. We've been getting hits and misses, but this one is a hit. So definitely, if you want some action with a really good storyline, there is a surprise in this newest Fantastic Four that has never been done in other Fantastic Fours. I don't want to give it away. I really want to leave it to audiences to go and check it out. But like I said, really good. And yeah, so far so good. It's made around 370 million globally since being released about a week ago. So that should tell you how good it is, from a cinematic standpoint. The second one that I'm the most excited about, I really did love Fantastic Four. I did go and see it, so that's why I'm saying definitely go and watch it. It is good. But the second film that I really want to talk about that I completely loved and did not expect to fall in love with so much is the sequel to Freaky Friday. There is a second...
It better not disappoint.
You know what? I watched it myself last week Friday and hand to my chest. It is so good. I'm always scared of nostalgic films being redone and there being a sequel. Sometimes they get it so wrong.
Oh, Adelaide, just move back to where you were. Your network dipped for a second. You said they are so good at... Yes, you're so good at...
It's good. It's so good at giving you that nostalgic feeling. And so I would definitely say that the latest Freaky Friday does that. It's got Lindsay Lohan and it also has Jamie Lee Curtis.
Adelaide, I think your hand might be on your mic. Now we've got you back. Now? Yes, okay, just repeat that again.
Thank you, sorry. Let me start over. So, yeah, the latest Freaky Friday has both Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. So the original formula is still there, and it's almost like a new multi-generational spin on the actual original film itself. Lindsay Lohan is a mommy in the latest one, and she's actually about to get married. So, but her husband or her fiancé has a daughter. So they are trying to make the whole blended family concept work for them prior to them getting married and the wedding. And then obviously the Freaky Friday spin happens. Honestly, it's so beautiful. It's so heartwarming. Please, please, please go and watch it. If you want to go and do something with your mom or your parents or somebody that you have a really good relationship with on a parental level, I recommend this movie. It made me cry. Actually, it was so nice. It was so wholesome and so funny. Honestly, Lindsay Lohan has come back with such a bang, even from her films that she has on Netflix. But this Freaky Friday is good. I promise you will love it. Hand to chest. This one,
Listen,
beautiful.
I have to say, I am so here for her comeback because we know what Hollywood can do to child stars. So I am so happy for where she's at. And I mean, guys, on your Netflix, there's a few of these cute little rom-coms that you can find of her
I love
in.
them.
So that is so dope for that. Okay, so now let's look at the next one.
Right. So there is a lovely documentary, a South African documentary. So Disney has actually done something similar to what Netflix has done, where they are giving you groups of different documentaries that you can view. So this particular one is called the People and Places edition that Disney has. And the one that is specific to South Africa, because they have different people all over the world that have contributed towards this project. Our specific one that shines the most because, you know, I love supporting local documentaries and local films. Ours specifically to South Africa is called the Academy. So it's from the People and Places edition. It's called the Academy. And it is actually done by our own homegrown Tribeca winning South African filmmaker, Julia Chansnick. And she's made the film The Father and the Mover, if anyone is familiar with some of her work. But essentially, her documentary actually follows this lovely story about Azile Arozi, and she's a young lady from Khayelitsha who actually discovers like healing and purpose through sailing. And it's such an unusual story because I honestly know nothing about sailing. I don't know anything about the sailing scene. But the fact that she is coming from where she's coming from to join a sailing team and to compete is something that I've never seen before from a documentary standpoint. It's so beautiful. It's so empowering. You know, if you want something that will maybe push you through this week and you feel like, you know what, it's a new month, I need something inspiring, a real life story, somebody that's actually done something in their own capacity with their own strength and determination, highly, highly recommend the Academy, The People and Places, which is on Disney Plus. I think people will really love it. Such a beautiful story.
Okay, then we move on to Netflix, a new local one blowing up all our timelines.
Sure. I've been hearing nothing but good things about it. I did see the trailer weeks before because I scope all of these things just to make sure that I'm within. The trailer for me is by far, I feel like, probably the best trailers I've seen this year when it comes to crime and drama, thriller type shows. It is done by Akino Motoso, which I trust him always. He's such a great director as well. So it has people that we trust, such a stacked cast, I must say. I don't know how they got this done, but it is also such a great drama series. It's actually based, the storyline is that it's based on a religious former police officer who has to plan a very bold left field type of robbery with a sinister ally to help her fund her daughter's critical operations. The daughter is sick and she needs about 1.2 million in order to pay for her daughter's operation that will save her life. So obviously she now has to deal with that dilemma of having been a former policeman, you know, the moral compass is sharp, and now you have to do something that you are totally against, which I think is such a refreshing type spin on something like this. Very stacked cast, like I said. It's got Ntate Jerry Mofokeng, who we know is legend in the game. It also has Ustu Mo from Isirai as well. And someone you've also spoken to, I think, was it this year or last year?
Lerato.
It has Bongo.
And Bongo.
And Lerato.
Lerato
You've got so many. Exactly. So there's so many people in this in this drama series that I feel like really make it what it is, you know, and even a little bit of, I always trust when something has Desmond Dube in it, I know that it's going to be good because he's either going to give you comedy or he will give you really good acting chops. So I think from a casting point of view, we have been given creme de la creme, honestly. And so it did drop this weekend and has been doing so well. I think it's number 1 on Netflix, if I'm not wrong. So definitely something we should look out for. Like I said, I feel like it's really good. I'm going to start watching it this week as well. It's on my to watch list. Definitely something to look out for.
And then finally on DSTV and Showmax, The Pit.
Right. Okay. So I needed to make sure that I have something just different from what I've been offering. So the Pit season 1 is actually premiering on the 11th of August on DSTV at 9 p.m. But obviously it will also then be on Showmax as well. So don't be worried if you can't see it at the moment on the app. But a little bit more about what The Pit is. It's actually a medical drama where our lead character, Robbie, Dr. Robbie Michael, actually faces a 15-hour shift alongside staff and interns at the Pittsburgh Trauma Medical Hospital, hence The Pit. So it's actually up for 13 Emmys this year alone. for outstanding drama performance, directing, writing. And I think for somebody who's looking for a drama series that also has a really good emotional roller coaster type vibe to it, it's something that people can look forward to. The trailer for the actual series dropped about last week, and it's already sitting at 1.4 million views. So I think that should tell you that this first season is going to be really, really good. Like I said, stacked cast, good writing, already up for Emmys. I give you nothing but the best, guys. Please watch it, give it a chance. Like I said, it's coming out on the 11th of August.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there, Adelaide. Moyang, thank you so much. We'll be catching you on the socials on movies and stuff.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
When you offend, you will lose points, and that may eventually lead you to losing your right to drive through this process of demerits.
I think you need to look at what is your intention. And if your intention is to create better drivers, get more people on the road, get our roads fixed, maybe go and teach our kids in school how to drive properly and just be law-abiding, and maybe we will fix it.
And don't be corrupt. Advocate Stephanie Fick.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Some mornings call for more than just a meal. They need a proper brunch. The spot, with the perfect eggs, bottomless coffee, and that effortless Sunday vibe. Maybe it's where you catch up with friends or just reset for the week ahead. If you've got a brunch place that feels like home, now that's your chance to say, I see you. Nominate them as Gauteng's greatest brunch spot at primemediaplus.com, because Gauteng isn't just the hub of business, it's the home of excellence, and excellence deserves your applause. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko counter fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
At the heart of global conversations shaping our future, Africa's voice is more important than ever. As proud lead sponsor of the B20, the Standard Bank Group is honored to showcase the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Because driving Africa's growth isn't just our ambition, it's our purpose. Tune in every Monday from 3 p.m. for the Standard Bank B20 in brief for key insights and updates around the B20. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
The blockbuster main attraction at UFC 319 in Chicago on the 17th of August sees Dricus du Plessis take on Russia's Khamzat Chimaev. Will the South African fighter become a legend and defend his middleweight title for the third time while handing the challenger his first ever defeat? Catch all the thrilling action and be in it to win it. Bet 40 Rand or more on any UFC fight between 1 July and 17 August and stand a chance to win your share of 100,000 Rand in cash and prizes.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Choose Checkers, SA's #1 value for money supermarket, and save on Kellogg's Cornflakes 1 kg for $74.99. Jacob's Kronenor Gold Instant Coffee 200 or 230 grams, any two for 269 Rand. And Pampers Jumbo Pack or Premium Care Value Pack nappies or pants for $249.99 per pack. Valid until this Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
702.
Travel.
9 minutes to 2 o'clock, time for our travel feature. I'm so excited for this one because I recently got the opportunity to travel to France. And outside of going to Paris, I then headed into the rurals, the Machayengs of France. And I was so surprised that this place had never really been advertised to me. People think of Paris and then they think about Nice and Bordeaux and the south of France. And I was like, Gabby, I need you to do some homework. We need to talk about this on the show. Welcome. Happy Monday, Gabs.
Bonjour, bonjour.
Oh, ça va, Gabby? Honey, I am so excited to talk about this because I think my world got opened to the fact that we are quite conditioned with what gets quite advertised. And maybe we're going to ruin things for everybody by talking about it today, because then everyone's going to flood rural France and then it's not going to be as fun anymore. But I walked away just feeling like it is so quiet and peaceful. It is relatively accessible just in how easy it was to travel to the rural parts of France that we went to. Quaint little town and a tiny, tiny South African community that has made a life for themselves there. Some of them who leave after the summer and others who live there permanently because they're artists and creatives and doing their, living their best lives.
Absolutely. And just touching on in terms of like the destinations in France that we are probably a lot more familiar with, your Paris, your Nice, all of those, Saint-Tropez, all of those beautiful places are very popular for very good reason. But as you've mentioned, like there's a lot of these beautiful, quiet countryside destinations that are maybe not as publicized, but are just as spectacular from a completely different perspective. So what we, of course, visited called the Creuse region, which is in the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region in central France. So if you look at a map of central France, this region is literally smack bang in the dead center of France. And as you've mentioned, it is relatively easy to get to. You've got your trains, you've got your planes to get to these destinations. And if you are looking for a very quiet, relaxed, nature-focused type of a getaway, it honestly doesn't get better than this. If you also want to experience true, genuine French living, which was magical.
And I mean, I think the other reminder about traveling to places like that is the rich history, but also we live a very fast-paced life. It is very chilled there. Like, don't expect your waiter to come now. The thing we had to learn is like, don't expect the waiter to be coming right now, because people start drinking in the morning. It's very chilled. It's for slow living, which I think is exactly what we need sometimes.
Very much slow living. And exactly as we've mentioned, just in terms of getting there, that in a process in itself is just part of the journey and part of the slowdown. We've chatted about it before, slow travel. So of course you can get your direct flight to France with the likes of your Air France. They make it seamless. You hop on a train. The journey on the train for about 2 hours from Châteauroux, from Orstelle station in Paris to Châteauroux station. Beautiful, scenic, the most wonderful countryside you go through. It's just relaxing, and you can just enjoy that time on the train, just being still, just being slow. So that is also part of the slow travel journey. And then, of course, once you get to Châteauroux, another beautiful road trip through even more of the French countryside, just to get to the destination where we were, which was, of course, in Tarbes, where we of course, stayed at your Chateau de Montfleur, which is owned and run by an incredible team of South Africans, completely remote, just absolutely, absolutely quiet, perfect from a slow travel perspective.
Okay, and I mean, just in terms of chateaus, and I remember asking you, are all chateaus castles? Because we're talking 3 levels, massive bedrooms, and obviously all of the chateaus that got an opportunity to see there, you can see they did their best to preserve the originals of it, but still make it modern and comfortable.
Absolutely. So for a fun fact, for anyone who may not be familiar, chateau is the French word for castle. So, of course, we were at Chateau de Montfleur. That's the Montfleur Castle. And a lot of the time, I think it may even be in most instances with actual chateaus all across France, is that most of them are historical landmarks. So there are a lot of legal things that you have to go through from a governmental perspective before you're allowed to do any kind of work or renovations on them. So it's quite a process to actually purchase a chateau and renovate it, because as you've mentioned, there are a lot of historical elements from some of these structures dating back from even before the 15th century. So these are beautiful old structures where a lot of history has to be preserved. So yes, a certain process has to be followed.
Why is it so easy? And I'm not to say it is necessarily easy, but how is it that the little South African community that is in those areas were able to just get property and go in? Is it like quite accessible, or is it quite the process?
I think there is, of course, a bit of a process, but I think from what we've seen is that most of the South Africans that have sort of moved over there and bought properties, ranging from small properties, little B&Bs, up to your beautiful chateaus, most of them are retirees, so they do have that cash available to purchase a property. And once you purchase a property in France, I think it's of a certain value. You do get some sort of a visa status where you are able to live there. There are, of course, certain requirements you definitely need to look into. But I wouldn't say it's not necessarily the easiest way, but it's also not difficult, considering a lot of South Africans have already done it and gone through the process.
So which are the other areas that you'd say people could try out in your rural France?
So rural France, Châteauroux is one of the really beautiful little cities. It's also known as a nature lover city. A lot of heritage there, a lot of parks, your gardens, your lakes, you've got forests. So also very much slow living, outdoor living. Châteauroux was actually one of the pit stops for the recent Tour de France. So it's also, there was a lot of buzz around this particular little city from that perspective. Another even smaller little town was Aubusson, which is, of course, the home of tapestry, which was something fascinating to learn. So Aubusson is about a 40-minute drive from Château de Montfleur, where we stayed. And it was such a beautiful little day trip to spend in this tiny little town, authentic French as it gets. It was just so beautiful. Another really beautiful town to consider visiting in your French countryside region is the town of Boussac. That's where there is quite a big South African community living already. And it's also very quiet, a little more of a buzz than your Aubusson town. But
Quiet,
a lot more
slow living are the key words here, Gabby. And I think there is definitely room for it, but we're going to have to leave it there. Gabby Brondani, thank you for your time.
Before the president has his national dialogue,
the people will have theirs.
This Wednesday, join Clement Maniatela for the People's Dialogue
On 702.
The questions won't be scripted, the truths won't be polished,
but the voices will be heard.
Dear Mr. President,
lend us your ears.
Because before policies, there are people.
And before power, there is accountability.
The People's Dialogue with Clement Maniatela.
You've watched, you've waited.
Now you speak.
To the country, to the president,
to each other.
Wednesday, 6 August.
From 9 to 12, only on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
We spend a lot of time looking for deals, but we don't invest the same time in our health. Your health buys you more time with the people you love. So who are you staying healthy for, and how can you improve your health? Choose Dis-Chem Life, the life cover that rewards you for living healthier with lower premiums and more cover. Visit dischemlife.co.za now. Dis-Chem Life. Choose a better partner for life. Dis-Chem Life is an authorized FSP 50594, underwritten by Guardrisk Life, a licensed life insurer, FSP 76. T's and C's apply.
Are you ready? What a question. It seems insane that suddenly you're supposed to know all the answers overnight. When to settle down, what cover you need, how to invest, why you should bother. So, if you're unsure, unsteady, and unstoppable, chat to a Liberty accredited financial advisor to take your first step today. Unready, set, go. Liberty. In it with you. All of you. Liberty Group Limited, a licensed life insurer and authorized FSP and part of the Standard Bank Group. Terms and conditions, risks and limitations apply.
What is Overtrail? Is it off the beaten path, over the edge of comfort, or the thrill of the road less taken? It's over every bridge, every obstacle, every trail, and over to that view that takes your breath away. Overtrail means going further, exploring deeper, surrounded by the comfort and sophistication of a luxury SUV. It's this spirit that inspired the Overtrail project. Experience Overtrail in the LX and GX range. Lexus. Experience amazing. This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini, International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola has admitted that conflicting messages from South Africa may have frustrated government's ability to negotiate with the US on tariffs in good faith. This comes as Pretoria makes another attempt to renegotiate economic and bilateral ties ahead of the implementation of sweeping tariffs by US President Donald Trump. Lamola joined Trade and Industry Minister Pakstau at a media briefing in Germiston, Ekurhuleni today for the latest on the trade talks.
It is unfortunate that these government efforts in resetting the relationship with the US has been undermined by some actors within South African society.
While he didn't mention any parties or organizations by name, Lamola's anger follows repeated attempts by some in the DA, Solidarity and AfriForum to lobby the US outside of official channels.
All of us as South Africans, irrespective of our political affiliations, whether you're in opposition, NGO, business, or in government, GNU, partner, or anything, once you get out of South Africa, we all have a responsibility to promote the national interest of South Africa.
Lawyers for the Zambian government have argued that it was never former President Edgar Lungu's wish to be buried in South Africa. The Pretoria High Court is hearing arguments from the government as well as Lungu's family over where the former head of state should be buried. Lungu died in South Africa in June while receiving medical care. The Pretoria High Court then halted his burial ahead of today's court battle. Khomoto Modise has more.
Arguing on behalf of the Zambian government, Advocate Ben Stoop has referenced the minutes of meetings between the family of Edgar Lungu and the Zambian government, saying it was clear that the former president did not want to be buried in South Africa and it was his wish for his remains to be repatriated back home. In June, Lungu's family tried to have him buried in South Africa, saying they did not want Zambia's current president, Lungu's political nemesis, Hakainde Hichilema, present at his funeral. But Advocate Stoop says the family and the state agreed on a program for the repatriation and funeral, which stipulates that Hichilema would be present when dignitaries are welcomed and during the program. Stoop further argues that in Zambian law, there's a clear judicial precedent stating that with a person of significant national interest, the wishes of that person and the family must yield to the broader public interest. Khomoza Modise, Eyewitness News.
A delegation of the South African police is in Lesotho to address the alleged existence of illegal Basotho military training camps operating in the country. National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola will be giving an update on their findings into the allegations made by the Lesotho National Police Commissioner, Advocate Baroto Matsoso. Matsoso made claims that some Basotho youths are being recruited and trained for military in South Africa. Dogozo Kumalo has more.
In a media briefing in Maseru last month, Advocate Boroto Motsoso had revealed that there's a group that goes by the name Matlanaha Land Reclaimers, allegedly involved in destabilizing the kingdom. Motsoso further stated that this group is in the business of spreading misinformation, disturbing the country's peace, security and diplomatic relations. In response, the South African police has since intensified its investigations into Motsoso's claims. SAP spokesperson Brigadier Atlanta Mate.
General Fani Masemola will, during the engagement, appraise the Lesotho Police Chief on what SAP's crime intelligence-driven operations have yielded thus far. Advocate Boroto Matsoso and his delegation are also expected to present a report on what the Lesotho Mounted Police Service have uncovered thus far.
Both commissioners are expected to release a statement on the way forward. Ndogozo Kumalo, Eyewitness News.
The city of Johannesburg says repairs to the damaged Lillian Ngoyi Street in the Joburg CBD are close to completion, with 86% of the work being done. A portion of the corridor has been closed off to traffic for 2 years now due to an underground gas explosion which damaged the street. Delays in fixing the road were caused by disputes with the previous contractor, who was replaced with a new company late last year. Johannesburg Roads Agency CEO Zweli Nyati says repairs will be completed by the end of this month.
Despite adverse weather conditions earlier in the year, the contractor at Lillian Ngoyi site has demonstrated exceptional performance, maintaining project timelines through a revised and accelerated construction program.
And an amber weather warning for strong winds has come into full force across England. This comes as Storm Florence is set to impact Scotland, Northern England, North Wales and Northern Ireland. Some roads and bridges have been closed off to traffic and residents have been warned of the possibility of power cuts. A number of flights to Scotland's islands have also been cancelled, although no international flights have been affected. The amber warning is scheduled to run until 10 this evening. Gold is trading at $3,359.34 an ounce. The rand is at 17.98 to the dollar, 23.92 to the pound, 20.82 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $69.67 a barrel.
In Isando, that's in the Ekurhuleni area, leaving OR Tambo International Airport, heading towards Edenville. There's an accident scene, R24 westbound. This is before Barbara Road, causing heavy delays all the way from the R21 merge. There's also slow-moving traffic. That's in the Amalgam area on Main Reef Road between Production and Anderson.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 22 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola has admitted that conflicting messages from South Africa may have frustrated talks with the United States.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. 702.
We're listening to you. You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. We'll be jumping into our parenting and parents feature. Today's going to be quite a sensitive one, and I hope you can share some of your experiences. It may have been yourself, you might have been the partner, or it may be somebody that you know of, and that's around navigating cancer during pregnancy. We'll be joined by Dr. Nokwanda Zuma, clinical and radiation oncologist, for that conversation. Then we wrap up, not how we usually do. Dr. Chris Smith will not be joining us today for The Naked Scientist. He is away on a summer holiday, but we will be joined by Mona Lisa Sibongile Zwambile, founder and CEO of Riverbed, a black female-owned and managed creative comms agency. We're going to talk about the care barometer, what women really care about. And you can start to get your messages in with your predictions. Tell us what you as women actually care about, or maybe make assumptions of what other women care about. Gents, what do you think? What do you believe women actually care about? 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
Parenting and Parents time on 702. And today we're going to talk about quite a tough subject matter that can be quite sensitive. And it's not something that many people would be firsthand familiar with, but some are dealing with actively in this moment as we speak. And that is around navigating cancer during a pregnancy. And I look forward to hearing from all of you. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. All of your experiences and all of your questions around this, because cancer is that creepy monster that appears at times that are so inopportune, and you don't always get the warning signs early on. But joining us, Dr. Nokwanda Zuma, clinical and radiation oncologist. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming through.
Hello, Relebogile. How's everyone?
We are doing so well, and thank you so much for joining us for such an important conversation. Doctor, let me jump straight into it. In your work as an oncologist, and I won't hold you to any statistics, but according to your rough estimates of patients that you see that are actively pregnant now, having cancer diagnoses, on top of that, how common is such an occurrence in the spaces that you work in?
So it's very rare, but it does exist. And it usually happens with our patients who are being diagnosed newly with either breast cancer, as they are unaware that now they've lost their period and they're pregnant. So it's a very rare thing, but it does happen quite well. It does happen sometimes.
And before we even get to the part of the complications where a woman might find that the cancer is in her reproductive organs, I think I may have seen it in one or two television shows or films where the character is then faced with the decision where they sometimes say, I would rather delay cancer treatment because I've always wanted to have my own child. Is that even something that is practiced and accommodated in South Africa?
So we always give a patient a choice after counseling. We have to counsel the patient, we have to counsel the partner. And the location of the cancer is very important. So if it's in your reproductive organs, let's say your cervix, your uterus, and we have to decide now, are we saving the baby, or are we saving the patient's life?
Sorry, doctor, just to clarify, are you referring to the scenario where the person was already pregnant and then required cancer treatment, or the one I was asking about now, which was if the cancer is now around their reproductive organs and they don't have kids and they always wanted to? So do those scenarios happen where a patient will say, I've never had kids of my own. Can we have interventions that possibly require treatment of the cancer so that they are able to conceive?
Okay, so it really depends on what stage they're at. So if it's localized, and let's say maybe it's in the uterus, we can delay treatments a bit whereby they can preserve their eggs. If, however, they're pregnant and need to start treatment, then we also look at the stage of the pregnancy. Is it the first trimester, the second trimester, or the third trimester? So the first and the last trimester are the most difficult, or the easier ones, because a patient can have chemotherapy during chemotherapy. We can preserve the baby while the patient's on chemotherapy if it's in the second trimester. However, if it's the first trimester, then cancer treatment can pose a risk to the fetal development. It can result in the baby being born with a low birth weight or having deformities. So a lot of counseling has to happen should they find out that they're pregnant and want to save their baby.
Can we talk about what it looks like in these rare scenarios where a cancer diagnosis comes in the midst of pregnancy? Do you find that it's usually the gynae that picks something up because they were, and not necessarily cancer in the reproductive or just cancer anywhere in the body? Or does it happen to be a person who has excruciating symptoms where now further investigations need to be done? Because I would imagine certain early signs could possibly be attributed to cancer. I mean, pregnancy rather. So it wouldn't necessarily be easy to be like, hey, please check for other things because pregnancy has so many symptoms.
So what we first do is before starting a patient on any therapy, we always check whether they're pregnant or not. So we do a simple urine dipstick to check if they're pregnant. If they're pregnant, then we refer them to the gynecologist, who will assess whether how many weeks pregnant is she, how is the baby at the moment. So it's usually done through a collaboration between the gynecologist and the oncologist. I mean, the gynecologist and the oncologist. My apologies.
Yes, I'm also getting it confused between the two. So the part about the counseling, which obviously as medical professionals you would have to collaborate in some way or another. What do you find is the most common course that patients choose, that they find themselves in a situation where, as you said, higher risk in the first trimester, you're able to do things in the later trimesters? Are you finding that patients will say, do anything to save my baby, even if it comes at the cost of myself? Or do you think patients are at a point where they're like, nope, not worth it. We still need this woman around. We're not even going to take a risk. Do whatever you need to, even if it means something does happen to the baby. And then if it is a more aggressive course of action, what do you do considering the child is already there, if you know that the aggressive course of treatment is going to affect the child? Like, do they have to consider possible termination and things like that to protect them?
So you've asked a lot of questions. And starting with the last one, if the pregnancy poses a risk to the patient, so to the mother, that patient still needs counseling, because they need to decide whether they would rather have a baby that's alive or a baby that has a mother that has now passed away. With the counseling in the first trimester, sometimes we can delay starting treatment, especially in your breast cancers, whereby we can wait for the second trimester, and that's when we can start chemotherapy. And then just before they're about to give birth, then we stop the chemotherapy. We allow the pregnancy to, the child to be delivered, and then continue again. Part of cancer treatment involves radiotherapy. Now, radiotherapy is very toxic. So if the area that needs to be radiated, for instance, is the uterus, then there the baby will suffer. And then that patient, through counseling, extreme counseling, has to make a decision that they need to terminate. Otherwise, they're going to have a baby that's very malformed. And that's not the best scenario for both the mother and the child.
What are some or one of the standout cases that you've dealt with which required exceptional intervention, particularly those ones that are very rare and unique?
So I had a very young patient who was diagnosed with cancer of the uterus, and she really wanted a child. So with cancer of the uterus, you usually have to take out the whole uterus and then the ovaries as well. So she really wanted a child. So what we did is we sent her to a fertility clinic where they tried to preserve some eggs, as well as the ovary, so that she could have the chance of having cancer treatment, having the operation. So even though she was not going to be able to carry the child, she would have to get a surrogate, because at least she's got her eggs that are preserved.
And that kind of intervention, just in terms of accessibility in public hospitals, what is the protocol when it's not private care? Because I know sometimes certain procedures can be viewed as elective. Maybe can you just bring us up to speed with what you know of at this stage?
So it's very difficult in state to offer patients all these services, because now you have to weigh out what the first in state resources are limited. So when we speak to a patient, we can refer them out, and then they have to try get it done privately.
And that
even
can
with
cost
your
quite a lot of money.
Absolutely. So even in men, when they're about to start chemotherapy, we counsel them that one of the side effects of chemotherapy is that it can it can affect your fertility. So if you have the desire to still have children before we start chemotherapy, go freeze your sperm. So cryopreservation.
Ooh, that is so interesting, and I'm wondering how many men have that consideration prior to that counseling session.
No, so whenever we counsel the patient on the treatment plan, we ask all these questions. Would you still like to have children? Because the side effects of this therapy is that it can lead to infertility. So both the men as well as both men and female are equally important when it comes to pregnancy or future fertility when they've been diagnosed with cancer.
In terms of some of the most common misconceptions around pregnancy, and, we can even include fertility there, and cancer, what are those common misconceptions? Because I feel like the natural assumption would be, oh, you get a cancer diagnosis when you're pregnant, then it's over, that's it. But the way modern medicine has evolved, there are things that you're able to do. But what are those assumptions that you've heard of that are completely inaccurate?
So one of the things that I've already mentioned is that people assume that just because you've been diagnosed with cancer, we can still preserve your fertility or your child, depending on what type of cancer you have and what stage your pregnancy is. So whatever we do, we want the mother to be safe as well as the baby to be safe. So that's the misconception, that you can't go for therapy or you can't keep your child when you've been diagnosed with cancer.
When the mother has now, let's say, the option where the cancer treatment is delayed, or even in the case where it has not been delayed, but she's able to successfully deliver, what is she more susceptible to in terms of side effects? Because now she's also dealing with postpartum along with, what your cancer interventions.
So similar to a normal person, except for obviously the immunity is sometimes compromised. So we just let them know that you need to look after yourself, you need to eat. It's very important that they go for continued counseling, because if postpartum depression hits while they are going through the journey of cancer treatment or the diagnosis, they've been recently diagnosed and they're young, then it's very important that they continue with their counseling.
When we look now again at public health sector, I'm sure there are so many interventions when it comes to the cancer treatment and the kind of support that is going to be required. Where do you think there are still gaps for all our listeners to be aware of, should they find themselves in such a position, whether they are a man that is dealing with wanting to freeze his sperm because of the possibility of his fertility being affected, and a woman who is pregnant? What do they need to be fully aware of when it comes to what is available in the public sector?
For most public sector facilities work as a team. So when a patient is being presented and let's say they've got breast cancer, and then the discussion has to be had, she's also pregnant, she would like to have this child, a big discussion is had with all the doctors involved. So the gynecologist, the surgeon, the oncologist. And then depending on how aggressive the cancer is, sometimes we need to make a decision and then put it to the patient. This is what we are offering you. Are you happy with the above? Are you happy to continue with the pregnancy? We delay the chemotherapy, or understand that if we go through with the pregnancy, it can result in acceleration of your cancer, which could lead to death, especially in your hormone-sensitive breast cancers.
Can you actually speak to us about that in that process of pregnancy, what's happening in your body of multiplying of cells, what that does to the cancer in your body, and if there are areas that are obviously worse off for your cancer to be in should you be pregnant?
The worst place that the pregnancy can be in is obviously for a woman is your uterus or your cervix, because that one is very difficult to manage. Unfortunately, if you are pregnant and you need treatment, it might mean termination. Then there are different cancers that behave differently. Some can be very aggressive in terms of growing very quickly. So moving from their primary site, let's say the breast, and then going to the lung, and then going to the liver. Also, skin cancers can also grow very quickly sometimes. So whether it's pregnancy related, for your breast cancers that are fed by hormones, just know that if you continue with the pregnancy, it could lead to an earlier demise of either the patient, rather. Yeah.
If termination is the route because of the many risks, with the law being what it is, does that fall within exceptions if, let's say, you discover it after a certain period, past the 24 weeks, I think it is? Or do you, as medical professionals, have to find a way to work around it because by law, termination wouldn't be an option?
So what the law says that the first 3 weeks, you can have a termination for free or easily. However, once you're in your, let's say, between the 24 to 36 weeks, it's a bit more difficult and then requires a more specialized gynecologist or obstetrician to perform the termination.
And once it is past a certain point, the bottom line is that it becomes the patient's choice.
It's the patient's choice. It has to be the patient's choice after thorough counseling.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, Doctor, on such a highly sensitive issue. And I really, really hope that after this conversation, more and more people are aware of the various nuances that come with getting such a diagnosis, not just when you're pregnant, but also if you were thinking of having more children or having a child, whether you are a man or a woman. Thank you so much for your time. It's 2:30, time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. Mpumalanga police have confirmed the arrests of an additional 24 illegal miners at the Sheba gold mine near Barberton. Last week, police arrested close to 500 illegal miners at the same site. They are making their first court appearance this afternoon on charges including possession of gold-bearing material, the contravention of the Immigration Act, as well as trespassing. The EFF has introduced a new bill in Parliament aimed at compelling the state to insource all essential and regularly required services. The party says if these services were insourced, it would curb tender fraud and inflated pricing. It argues that the state's ability to provide quality services has eroded over time because of the high reliance on external service providers. And some members of the ANC in Ekurhuleni are calling for the suspension of the party's upcoming regional election elective conference. A group of branch members have sent a letter of demand to ANC Secretary General Philem Balula, urging him to put the conference scheduled for this weekend on hold. The disgruntled members argue that the term of the task team assigned to organize the conference has expired. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
While leaving Kempton Park heading towards Germiston, there's an accident scene in the Isando area, R24 westbound before Barbara Road. This is causing delays all the way from the R21 split. Otherwise, the rest of 702 lane not looking too bad. No other serious accidents have been reported. However, we still have slow-moving traffic. That's in the Mill Park area. Heading towards Braamfontein, delays on Empire Road approaching the M1. There's also slow-moving traffic through Braamfontein. M1 southbound heading towards Wits University. Also look out for those faulty traffic lights in Edenville, Morafontein Road and Van Riebeek, as well as in Alex at Marlborough Drive and Far East Bank. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
I imagine the conditions have not changed since our last conversation. Once we see the rollout of the ARTO administrative system, the demerit point system will come into play, correct?
Yes, that is correct, Africa, but the points demerit system is coming in at slightly later, the phased implementation of ARTO, starting from this December, where we're having the 69 municipalities coming on board as well as Metro.
Modem Kalipi, a spokesperson for the Road Traffic Infringement Agency.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
An art to sushi, the balance, the freshness, the precision. And some places don't just serve it, they elevate it to a performance. Whether it's your date night favorite or your Friday lunch ritual, that sushi bar that consistently delivers flavor, finesse, and flair deserves to be seen. If their rolls, sashimi, and service keep you coming back, now's your chance to say, I see you. Nominate them for Gauteng's greatest sushi bar at primemediaplus.com, because Gauteng isn't just the hub of busyness, it's the home of excellence, and excellence deserves your applause. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko counter-fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
Did you ever work in the UK? If you did for at least 3 years and you're under 67, you can get a guaranteed UK state pension worth up to 5 million rand over a typical retirement for just a small payment directly to UK revenue. Most people get 40 rand back for every rand they pay in. There's a big queue at UK revenue as this opportunity may end soon, so act fast. Call Extra Pension in Cape Town or see extrapension.com. Mind your UK pension and it'll mind you. Service fees apply.
Here at Betway, we're finding every way possible to make sure you can win your next sports bet. With our new Bet Saver feature, you could get your stake back or more on bets with multiple losses. Stand to win even when your bet misses. Bet Saver, exclusive to Betway. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
If you want to know about the heart and art of jazz, look no further than the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival, a grand ensemble of over 50 world-class acts across 4 stages for 3 whole days. That's right, from the 26th, 27th and 28th of September. The Sandton Convention Center will be demure and sophisticated as the fine Standard Bank Joy of Jazz 2025 takes you deep into the heart, the art and splendor of jazz. Take me there. Book your seat via Ticketmaster now.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Professor Adrian Saviles, Professor of Economics and Finance at the Gordon Institute of Business Science.
The tariffs are necessarily taken by the buyer, not the supplier, and that hasn't yet shown its full hand. Give it a little bit more time and you'll start to see that inflation pressure present itself to U.S. households. That's the voter that starts to put up their hand in protest and say, this isn't what we voted for.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB. ABSA is a proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa 2025. ABSA is a registered FSP. Your story matters. 702, let's walk the talk. Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. Happy Monday, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Hope everybody else is well. And I'm just wondering, did you manage to make some space on your room divider? Haven't you got an award that you need to put there?
I forgot to tell the listeners. I haven't made space yet. And I'll tell you why. My mom came to the house.
Yes.
She's so cute. She came to the house.
Yes.
And she positioned my new trophy with flowers and a care package. And she was like, please go bath so we can take a photo. Because I was just in my pajamas recovering from the night before.
Okay.
We still don't have the
should.
photo. So it needs a home and a polish.
All right. But it's your story to tell. You tell it in your... should I have given spoiler alert?
You should tell it.
No.
Okay, so I even forgot to ask the listeners to vote for me in the first place.
Yes.
I told them when I
won three.
Yes.
3 nominations
So
for
I had
Basadi Awards.
Yes, I had got 3 nominations for the Basadi Music Awards. Entertainment radio presenter specifically for 702 Unplugged feature.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take that one. Congratulations to Lute Love. And then I also got podcast presenter of the year for the Relebogile Mabotja podcast. Didn't take that one. Congrats to Lakonko. And then I took entertainment producer for Tyler's live show on Showmax.
Fabulous.
So
well done.
That was and it's a heavy. I know there was a big hoo-ha about Tyler asking the people next to her to hold a trophy at some awards, saying it's heavy. Guys, some of these trophies are heavy.
Yeah.
I got to have that feeling of like, this is a heavy trophy, so I'm very proud of myself.
I will come and help with extra brackets for the room divider. I'll come and help as well.
Room divider, I love it.
I will hold the tools.
Thank you so much.
We'll fix it.
What's coming up on your show today?
So good afternoon, everybody. Good to have you with us, or we're looking forward to having you with us after 3 o'clock. So we are now in the world of 30% tariffs to the United States. The car company affected the worst is Mercedes-Benz, and if Mercedes-Benz gets hammered, that is bad news for East London. We'll talk to the head of the Chamber of Commerce in that part of South Africa to talk about what kind of plans they might be doing. Issues around Zamazamas, away from the usual hotspots. This is down in Barberton in Mpumalanga. We'll get an update on that story. There were miners underground. There are a large number of miners appearing in court. We'll do that story at 20 minutes past 4 o'clock. Quite a spate of cars being recalled. There was another recall just last Friday, this time the Lexus. But there have been a few, and we want to find out, is this a pattern? And if so, what kind of pattern is it? It could be, of course, that there's problems with manufacturing, but the other way of looking at it is that there's much stricter vigilance around car safety. I'm not sure what the answer to that is. It could be both, but we'll do that story sometime after 5 o'clock. Couple of stories in the news. Carte Blanche had a strong one last night. Sowetans got someone today about people's family members. In the Carte Blanche story, somebody actually died at a rehab center. In Limpopo, the issue is that the person has gone missing. And it prompted this question for me, Relebogile. Can anyone just open a rehab center and say, we're a rehab center if you've got family members or yourself who need to check in? That sounds a bit loose to me. So either there's a law that is much stricter, but it's not being obeyed, or the law is not as tight as it should be. I'm hoping listeners will help us out with some on-the-ground insights, but we'll look at that closely at 10 to 4.
And also if there is a difference between the qualifying criteria for a rehab that takes minors versus those that do not.
Very important question.
If you can take minors, there will be certain rules. They can't just sign themselves out. And what that looks like, because that's also a very real thing of teenagers being sent to rehab. So I'll be very interested to hear that, John. I have a friend who was in and out of a rehab, but extremely reputable and wonderfully done. And we don't think about these things sometimes, because in a moment of crisis, you're just thinking, where can we get help? I don't even know if parents would have the time to be doing this intense due diligence to say, where's your certificate?
Yeah. Desperate times, people do things, but that doesn't mean the people in charge of the system shouldn't keep it tight. We'll find out if they do.
702 Drive with John Perlman, coming up from 3 to 6 p.m.
Spend your afternoon
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
19 minutes to 3 o'clock, and we don't have Dr. Chris Smith with us today. He is still continuing his summer holiday, as they do in Europe this time of the year, that they go away and avoid, or rather enjoy the summer. But now we're going to talk about the care barometer. What women really care about. And I want to hear from all of you on this, and you can already start to send through your messages. We're going to be joined by Mona Lisa Zwambila for this conversation. And I already seen some of your messages coming through. One saying what women want is money. Let me rephrase again. Not what do women want. What do women really care about? 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Your voice.
Your life
Your afternoon radio.
on 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
All right, so let's welcome into our conversation Mona Lisa Zwambila, founder and CEO of Riverbed, to chat about what women really care about. Mona Lisa, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Mona Lisa,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Let's start
Great.
at how
if
this.
If I can fangirl for a second, Relebogile, really great to be on your show. I'm a big fan.
Thank
and
you.
Congratulations.
Thank
just
you.
for your award. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. I truly, truly appreciate that. What actually got you into anything called a care barometer?
Well, firstly, I think what is really important for us, especially as women, is to really have an understanding of what we call your radius of care, because we obviously care about a whole bunch of different things, but it's the things we truly care about that we focus on and we give a lot of attention to. I love the phrase, that says, when you care enough, you can move mountains, and that really is true. And what our research discovered is that, women care about certain things, and sometimes it's to the demise of career aspirations. One of your callers, I think, talked about, loads of money, and, sometimes it's to the detriment of not being able to achieve those type of aspirations. And so, what you care about, what you invest your time in, what you prioritize becomes really important. And that's what our research sought to discover. And then also it became important for us to analyze what the barriers were, so in other words, what is getting in the way of women being able to achieve the things they do care about.
So how did you go about doing this study, this survey, and getting this information?
We commissioned the research, so we partnered with an external research company. It was important that the research was done scientifically, so that the data that came out of it, was something that could truly be tested. And in doing so, we spoke to women across the country. So in your major metropolitan, areas. Over and above that, we made sure that the women we spoke to, from a demographic perspective, were women that were working, women from the age of 25 up to 60, and across all different life stages. So women that actually have managed to become successful, those were possibly struggling, with the things that they care about or aspire to, and women also just at the start of their career journeys.
And that's quite a vast group of women, and I'm excited that we're having this conversation in the middle of Women's Month, where we often want to look at celebrating women without actually focusing on what it is that women genuinely care about, not what surface level it looks like we care about, but in real life, what is it that women care about? So let us chat about some of the outcomes of this care barometer.
Great. I mean, I think one of the interesting things, and I'll cite a couple of them, firstly, this reality that as women, our career journeys are never linear. We might start off with a particular aspiration, but there's a lot that gets in the way of us actually achieving the things we want to. As you rightly pointed out, we are in Women's Month. The 9th is just a few days away. And what's interesting is that oftentimes, we celebrate, women that have made it to C-suite offices. But what we found out is that where some women are fighting for a seat at the table, but most aren't even thinking about the table, but they just want access to the meal that's being served, because there's just a lot of things that women are juggling. And what we found from a research perspective, when we asked the question, what are the important things in your life? What are the things you care about? In order of ranking and priority, women do look at financial independence as the key most important, priority for them. And that is closely linked to their ability to be good mothers and good partners within the household. And those were the two mutually inclusive things that women care about. What we found, at least personally, I think slightly disheartening, is that from a ranking perspective, career aspirations, investments in terms of your financial standing, etc., only ranked at 5th and 5th and 6th. And so only 5% of the women that we spoke to saw career aspirations as something that was important to them within their current context. There was just too many other things in the way of them being able to actually focus on that.
Is that something that surprised you because of how things are changing? On the one hand, we've got the fiercely independent woman, and then we've got the independent women who are saying we're tired of being strong. In our book feature for today, we're talking about the book, The Fragile Mental Health of Strong Women. And I've been seeing women saying that they don't want a promotion to C-suite. They don't want the responsibility. They just don't.
Yes, it's an interesting one. I mean, what our research also revealed, there's an interesting theory called the Matthew effect, and it was discovered by a gentleman called, a man called Robert Merton. And what he spoke to was this reality that people that start with advantage accumulate advantage as they go along within their life journey. And those that are disadvantaged will struggle to succeed and be successful. And so what was interesting with some of the data that we extrapolated is, as we all know, when we look at matric results, etc., more women, more girl learners are passing matric. More women are completing university and getting degrees, and that's across the board, be it accounting, medicine, etc. But what happens is when they enter the job market or the labor market, these numbers start to decline. And then we only end up with 13% of women in executive roles. And to your earlier point, Relebogile, we then need to ask ourselves, are there so few women at the top because women don't want that? Or is it because there's just so much in the way of them even starting to think about those type of roles? And what our research found is that women are really struggling with this duality of their lives, of their biology. So, and all these multiple roles that they have, that oftentimes they just have to pick a lane. And oftentimes that lane will be being a good mother. Oftentimes that lane might be, my partner. And we see this just by the statistics that fewer and fewer women end up in senior roles. And the jury is out in terms of, do they want those roles? It's my feeling based on the data that I think oftentimes they struggle to even get as far as to thinking what those roles might be.
We need to take a break, and when we come back, we will read some of the messages of what some of the listeners think women really care about, and then we'll get to more of the key findings from the research.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
I'm Nathan Ilunga. I'm Congolese, and one thing I love about 702 is the open line on Clement Manetela show and the healing hour. Overall, what I like most about the station is the different topic they cover. They broaden your mind and push you to think. They help you to become a critical thinker. So that's why I listen to 702.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
so we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
Dear Journal, day 4602 of trying to be an adult. My doctor asked me how my quality of rest is at the moment. I told him I have two problems. I struggle to sleep at night, but I also struggle to awake at day.
Aggressively realizing your age? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's simple and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
Hollywood Bets is bringing you a bounty of prizes with Spina Zonke prize drops. Gear up to unravel an endless supply of treasures and claim fantastic riches with a chance to win an amazing share of 2.5 million Rand in cash and prizes. All you have to do is bet 2 Rand or more on selected pragmatic play games on Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays between 12:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Feel the ultimate thrill when you log in for a spin and bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Adverts are meant to move us to action. That's why good ads inspire us. They can teach us something new or make us laugh. But false advertising can create real problems. Report deceptive or offensive ads to the Advertising Regulatory Board. Visit arb.org.za to file your complaint. We respond to every complaint we receive.
Every business begins with heart, but it thrives with support. And no one backs Gauteng's dreamers and doers like 702, Yoko, and you. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko are back to recognize and celebrate the local entrepreneurs making life better. From your favorite coffee spot to the baker who knows your name. From the salon that raised generations to the bold newcomer raising the bar. Just think of the business that made you feel seen. Now's your chance to say, I see you. I see you. Go to primemediaplus.com to view the categories and make your nomination. Because this province isn't just the hub of business, it's the home of excellence. And excellence deserves your applause. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko Counter fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
6 minutes to 3 o'clock, and we are chatting about the care barometer, what women really care about, together with Mona Lisa Zwambila, founder and CEO of Riverbed, which is a comms agency that went and got their research together to actually find out what it is that women really care about. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line, 072 702 702. Oh, I cannot believe that we've run out of time. Here are some messages. One says, I would think in South Africa, women really care about safety, the safety to just exist as a woman. Another one says, Lebo, after many years of marriage and its many ups and downs, I've come to understand that what some women really care about is number one, money and what it brings or buys. Number two, their children. Number three, husbands, especially when the husbands are the source of the money. That's anonymous. Another one says, in relationships, women often value emotional support and understanding, trust and loyalty, respect and validation, communication and active listening, shared responsibilities and teamwork. Mona Lisa, are you surprised that some of the feedback is coming from men who think what women really care about is in relation to them.
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, what was quite interesting with some of the, results that we got in terms of some of the barriers I spoke about earlier, one of the big ones is the confidence gap. Where we found that 1 in 3 women have either low self-esteem, suffer from imposter syndrome in male-dominated environments. And I think, this speaks quite closely to some of the messages that you've just read out when it comes to women needing validation, etc. And oftentimes looking for that validation either from the workplace or from their male partners. So the research, it really has been quite consistent with not only my lived experience, but, in all the conversations we've started to have around the research, it really does showcase, I think, what women are feeling. And I think our hope really is that in sharing the research and the information, a lot of women can start to realize that some of the things that they do go through, they're not alone, that they are quite universal. And, we also have obviously looked at some of the things they can start to do, to change this, if that's the path they'd like to proceed on.
Where can we access the care barometer for those that want to go through that data?
They can email us. We've set up an email address, which is hello@theriverbed.co.za. And I'm also, speaking with businesses and brand owners, and they can feel free to email and be more than willing to come through and present the research findings and just give a synopsis of the information, because it is quite a lengthy document to go through.
Thank you so much for chatting to us, Mona Lisa, today, and just for really bringing us into this interesting data we can all use.
Beyond politics.
Didi, I'm not going anywhere.
It's honest conversations with politicians and newsmakers on Polytricking with Sidi Madia on EWN. It gets heavy.
Even in losing the election in Polokwane, people regret Zuma. They don't regret not backing Mbeki.
Me, I don't regret nothing, because he gave people a sword to stab him with.
Yeah.
It gets personal.
There's a tendency to paint the entire GNU with the whims and the feelings of the DA at any particular moment. It is not a fact.
It gets to their truth.
If you check the videos, it started coming like organically on the ground. Random leaders of the FF Children's Command saying, no, man, this Floyd must go away.
You call him VBS Floyd, don't you?
Yeah, it's VBS Floyd.
Why is Julius Malema not VBS Malema?
The president was cleared by parliament, guys.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You're defending even Floyd Shivambuni who's in the EFF and VBS. Suddenly it's VBS Floyd.
No, I never defended.
Catch a new episode every Wednesday on PrimeMediaPlus.com. Polytricking with Sidi Madia on EWN.
On record.
In touch, in tune, and independent.
There's power in a single partner who helps you build a better employee benefits strategy. Begin with retirement, the foundation of securing your employee's future. Now layer in everyday health, mental wellness, and financial balance. And finally, essential protection for life's curveballs, from illness to income loss. Now that sounds like a complete benefit strategy, one that protects your people and powers your business. Talk to us at employeebenefits@oldmutual.com about Old Mutual Corporate's integrated employee benefits solutions. Old Mutual Corporate is a division of Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited, a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Thanks for joining us. Back tomorrow. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
More illegal miners resurface from the Sheba gold mine in Mpumalanga, and internal battles continue for the ANC in Ekurhuleni. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Mpumalanga police have confirmed the arrests of an additional 24 illegal miners at the Sheba gold mine near Barberton. Last week, police arrested close to 500 illegal miners at the same site. They made their first appearance in the contravention of the Immigration Act as well as trespassing. Mongezi Koko reports.
According to provincial police, the 24 newly arrested suspects allegedly went deeper underground when officers first uncovered the operation last week. They resurfaced today after spending the entire weekend underground. Police say a firearm was found in the possession of one of the suspects. Spokesperson Donald Mdluli.
So one thing that we want also to indicate is that they are still being processed and possibly they could be found with other things.
Meanwhile, in court, the nearly 500 accused will appear in two separate courtrooms due to space limitations. Police investigations into illegal mining in the area are ongoing. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
The EFF has introduced a new bill in Parliament aimed at compelling the state to insource all essential and regularly required services. The party says if these services were insourced, it would curb tender fraud and inflated pricing. It argues that the state's